What's going on, Agents for Life? Welcome to podcast number 259. We're going to jump right into one of my absolute favorite core values of all, toughness, and specifically mental toughness, because there's not a lot of physical labor that we do as agents. But before I get in, let me just share my mic drop thought, something that's been on my mind and on my heart. And this has to do with willpower. And it also has to do with our beliefs and our standards and kind of our defaults. I like the word default. You have an operating system, right? And you boot it up and all the defaults are in place. It has these settings and then you customize it. Well, in life, we also have defaults. And I would challenge you, what do you do when you don't have anything to do? That's probably one of your defaults. A lot of people like to sit down and watch a movie, or a lot of people like to go take a nap or read a book or maybe travel or whatever. But we have defaults by default. We're programmed to have defaults. And where yours is kind of interesting. So here's the thought: your willpower will always succumb to your default belief. Your willpower will always succumb to your default belief. So we work a lot with willpower. Willpower is like a battery, it slowly drains throughout the day. And at first, you can force yourself to do things, and pretty soon you just run out of steam. And that willpower is just not there anymore. So that's why mornings were fresh. That's why mornings are a good time to do the hard work. That's why mornings are a good time to dial because we can be self disciplined. Whereas 3, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, a lot of times our willpower goes, well, also your willpower also it has to do with our default belief and even our standards, like the lowest minimum action that we're willing to take. So what is that for you? What is your belief? How bad do you need this? Not even want this, but how bad do you need this to work for you in your life? Because if it's a casual commitment, you're probably going to get very casual or even less than casual results. Because just like anything, and I love this thought, this mic drop thought totally sets me up into our core value, toughness, because it is tough, right? And sometimes we have to dig down deep into the depths of our soul to muster up a little bit more willpower to make 10 more phone calls or run 1 or 2 more appointments or get rejected one more time. So I love this thought, and I don't know if I planned this on purpose or if it just worked out that way, but it really sets the stage for our core value. Now, as I was looking at these, I don't know if it's core value number 5, if that is exactly how Equis would call this core value. So don't get too caught up if my numbers are off. I was just reeling. It might be out of order, but the 5th one that I'm doing is toughness. And toughness is so important in this business because this business is tough. Okay. There's a fight coming up. I don't know if you've heard, but Mike Tyson's getting back in the boxing ring with some YouTuber. Can't remember his name, Paul something, Jake Paul or something like that. I guess he's MMA. He's done a lot of fights, and it's gonna be really interesting to see. But talk about toughness. I mean, Mike Tyson, what is he, 60 something years old now, still stepping into the boxing ring. But you should see his workout schedule, his regiment, what he's doing every day to stay conditioned so that he can go into a fight. Now, I don't know what's going to happen. He might get his butt kicked. He might do some butt whooping himself. It's going to be an interesting fight. But I will say to both candidates, they got some level of toughness to pull this off, right? We're talking about two of the tougher members of society coming at each other. And we all line up to watch it and we all get excited. And it might be this fight or it might be something else. But when we truly step out in toughness, we set ourselves apart from 95% of the population that doesn't have the courage to step out and do something hard. And so my hat is off to all of you. If you said yes to this opportunity and you've done even a minimal amount of work, you're doing things that a lot of people just aren't willing to do. A side hustle, think about this. The side hustle, 1099, right? Everybody has their excuses. They've all got their lives full. You've got kids, you've got soccer, you've got school, you've got work, you've got all your obligations, okay? And life is just busy. And a lot of us are on track to a life of mediocrity. And it takes a certain type of person to maintain all that, but still say, yes, I'm going to step out of that little trail on top of what I'm doing. And I'm going to do this little thing, this little side hustle and get beat up and get rejected and get hung up on and get no showed and get canceled on and get charged back and still keep fighting. Okay. That's who you are in company with. We, and I include myself, I include you, all of us are fighters. And in order to be a fighter, you have to have a certain amount of mental toughness. Okay. They say you champions eat rejection for breakfast, right? You've heard that in sales. Okay. Well, happens to us all the time. So if you're coming on board or if you're newer, or even if you've been around for a long time, you got to keep being tough. It doesn't just magically get easy. In fact, if anything, sometimes it gets harder. Some days, some months, you feel like, you know, it's just going up and down. And if you're going through that or feeling that, you're in good company because we're all on that track. And guess what? I always say to this, you probably heard me say it before. If it were easy, we wouldn't get paid like we do. If it were easy, we wouldn't have all the perks of financial freedom and unlimited income opportunity and time freedom and ownership and control over your life and bonuses and rewards like Equis gives. Like the list goes on and on. We wouldn't have that if this was easy. If this was easy, it would be a McDonald's job. It would be a starter job, maybe a minimum wage job, right? Where they can just plug in whomever. But we are a certain type of person to step out. And I'm surprised, continue to be surprised at the number of agents that get started and don't go anywhere because they find out, oh my gosh, like I have to make a bunch of phone calls. I have to have people that tell me no. I have to have people that some of them aren't very nice on the phone on occasion, and I have to have people where I go through all the work schedule and then they don't show up and then they just ghost me. I like the list goes on, right? Yeah, you do because we can't cherry pick. We don't know who's who. If somebody figures that out, boy, I'll tell you, that's going to be a game changer. But until then, we do the best we can. We get a bunch of leads, we make a bunch of calls, we run a bunch of appointments, and you got to keep going. It's like Rocky Balboa, right? It says it doesn't matter how many times you get knocked down. What matters is how many times you get back up. And you just got to remember that you got to get up one more time, then you get knocked down. And you might be on your last round. You might be seeing blurry with a big black eye. You might have blood drizzling down the side of you. And I'm going back into boxing again, but I was thinking Rocky Balboa. You might be out of breath. You might have, a bruised side, and maybe your kidneys are shot from a few uppercuts in the back, and you're exhausted, and you're seeing double or maybe seeing triple, and people are squirting water in your face, and a coach is telling you all kinds of things that just sounds like white noise because everything is a blur and the world is spinning, and you hear crowds and you got to go at it again, and then bing, there goes the bell. Okay, and somebody pushes you back in, and you're like, I don't even know where I am. I don't even know which way is where my opponent is. Like I can imagine. I've never been a boxer, but I can imagine what it's like in those rounds where you got to muster up one more swing, one more dodge, because nothing matters until the last man standing. And that's toughness, right? Core value number, whatever it is, I'm calling it 5, but one of our core values, toughness, for a reason. To be an entrepreneur, you got to be tough. To be the CEO of your life, you got to be tough. Okay. It doesn't matter what it is, whether it's life insurance or real estate or whatever you get into. It just so happens with life insurance, we get to be tough together. That's the cool thing I like about our team, about Equis, about our business model, is you don't have to just do it on your own. Okay. You got to be tough. You got to bring the heat, right? You got to be the one willing to stand back up and swing one more time. But you got to coach in every direction. You got to coach in your corner. You got someone watching over. You got a doctor checking for scar tissue and making sure you don't lose your vision. And you've got people wiping down your brow. And you've got a team, just like a famous boxer has a team to keep him going. That's the difference that I love about this, because in a lot of cases, being tough on your own without any prior experience and no team and getting rejected and going out and trying to start a business and investing sometimes tens or even hundreds of thousands of dollars to start up a business like some of these models have, and failure and facing bankruptcy or whatever. You've heard the stories. You're on your own in most cases. At Equis, you got a team. That's the one thing we can promise you. Barry always says, I'm going to promise you a hard time, right? But I always like to back that with, but we're also going to promise you a team. As long as you're willing to not quit, as long as you're willing, like Rocky says, to stand up one more time than you get knocked down. It's okay that you get knocked down. We're all going to get it. Okay. If you haven't been here long enough to get knocked down, your day's coming. Promise. You're going to lose some teeth in an uppercut or a right hand swing that catches you off guard. Okay. It's going to happen. It can't not. But the question is, what do you do about it? So you get a little rejection, you have a bad dial session, you have a bad run of appointments on during a week. What do you do? Do you double down or do you quit? Because the only way you can lose here at Equis is to just quit. If you keep going, if you are so stubbornly opposed to giving up that you just flat out refuse to quit, if you got that in your personality, you're leaps and bounds above most of the population. Because far too many of us are programmed when things aren't going just so that we just say, you know what? I quit. I give up. Okay. It's that toughness. It's that quality, that grit deep down inside that every single entrepreneur has to have that makes the difference. That's the thing that will set you apart. And in the end, whether you're going to be successful or not, it's all going to come down to what happens in that magic moment. Okay. The real test, the real test of a character of a man or woman isn't what happens when things are good. It's what happens when things get tough. That's when the real insides come on the outsides and we all get to see, like, what are you truly made of? Now, am I saying you have to go and be a world famous heavyweight champion boxer of the world? No. Fortunately, that's not required. What is required? Just don't quit. If you could see your future path here, if we could paint that picture, and that's why we go to this so often, your dream, your why. If you could understand and truly believe that those things exist, that they're real, the legacy, the wealth legacy. I mean, we're talking about not just you, your children, your children's children, building something so fantastic that your grandchildren or your great grandchildren are praising your name for having started this thing 50 years ago. Okay. We're talking about something big. Don't expect it to be easy. But you got to get up when things get tough. You got to muster up that mental toughness. And if it's not a habit, if you're not used to it, if you've been used to in your past, like I was when I got started with just trying something, didn't go well and quit, right? You know what? You're going to have to make some changes. Okay. You got to get around the team more. You got to read more books. You got to put more good stuff in your head. You got to block out some of that stuff that's trying to give you that victim mentality or that quit kind of a mentality. You got to do what you got to do. Why? Because it's your future we're fighting for. This is your financial freedom, your dreams. Okay. Who's going to fight for them if you don't? Right? No one's going to fight harder for your dreams than you are. That's why we always say you're your own best investment. So bet on yourself. You're the one in the ring, right? You're the one stepping in day after day, hitting it, going after it. Only you know what's on the inside. The only question remains is we've got the tools, we've got the training, we've got the scripts, we've got the leads, we've got the leadership, got the core values. Equis has built a phenomenal vehicle. It's just sitting there parked, waiting for a driver. And you get in, we're going to see what that car will do. 0 to 60, right? The only thing left, we're taking away all the excuses. The only thing left, are you willing to do the work? Are you willing to do what it takes to hustle, to just flat out refuse to quit until you win big? If you got that, I'll see you at the top because you are definitely going to be there. Thanks for listening.